Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Scale Up Your Sales and Marketing podcast. We've created this to provide practical, no-nonsense support for small business owners like you. So in this 10-part series, we're going to be actually flipping between sales and marketing all the way. So we've got 5 sales and 5 marketing that we're going to take you through and help you to understand more, to really get to the bottom of some of the basics and the fundamentals for your business. So this is going to be perfect if you're starting out or you've got a concept or you want to revisit the basics as you scale. So today is all about sales. So Leisa, tell us, how do you define sales and marketing as per Find Me the Leads?
Oh, this is a tricky one. Well, it's not a tricky one, actually. Otherwise, I wouldn't still be here, would I, doing this thing called sales 20 plus years after I started out on my career. Now, I think it's really important to sort of address the elephant in the room, because I do feel that sales and salespeople do get a bit of a bad rep. So I think that they are perceived quite negatively by a lot of people, and that's something, or a perception, which has been built up over an amount of time, and probably stemming back to the days of car salesmen, double glazing salesmen. But the point here, and the point that I really want to make, and the way that we approach sales, is very much around building customer relationships. So talking about the process of finding new customers and converting them from a prospect or an inquiry into a paying customer. So for us, it's not transactional. Ultimately, there is an exchange of cash involved. However, we view it very much as a relationship building process. So let me just talk briefly about the process of sales. So I think I touched on it already. I think it's important to remember and not to shy away from the fact that a sale is a transaction. That can be a transaction which is a financial one, i.e. an exchange of cash for services or goods. But actually, it can also be an exchange, so an exchange of knowledge, an exchange of experience, which might not actually be for financial gain, but it's coming from a collaborative and a supportive point of view. So you and I sitting here together, we are exchanging constantly ideas, opportunities with each other, not because we're paying each other to do that, but because we understand it's important to build relationships, because ultimately at some point down the line, what we share with each other will convert into a sale. So I think sales as a process for us at Find Me the Leads is very much around prospecting. So it's very much around identifying opportunities and making connections and starting to really build that relationship with customers and prospects. It's also important to point out that there is a difference between sales and negotiating. Ooh. So negotiating comes, in my opinion, quite a way into the relationship. So sales is the front end of the process. So this is what I do you want to buy it sort of thing? Obviously not quite that direct. I would never be so direct. But I see it, the process of sales is very much, and I like a foodie reference because that's my sort of area, that's my space. I see it a bit like, I like to define it as a 3-course meal. So it consists of a starter, a main course, and a dessert. And the reason I say that is because they are 3 very distinct parts of the same process. However, and also the people that are involved in those 3 stages of the process possess very different skills and actually require very different skills. So the starter is all about whetting the appetite. So this is what we would define as the prospecting part of the service. Finding suitable outlets for our customers' products, for example, making contact, introducing, whetting the appetite, and then leading them through into what then becomes the main course. Yeah, so now we're getting down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
This is the tell me more. I want to know more about this service that you provide or this product that you sell. You know, what's good about it? How will it benefit me? How will it benefit my customers? So there needs to be a lot more detail and probably a lot more hand-holding at that stage. So that's a really critical stage, because that's the point at which you can get it so right or so wrong. So recognising that some customers will need more hand-holding than others. So they'll need more explanation, they'll need more minute detail.
Yep.
And you as a salesperson need to really respond to that. And then the dessert is just basically get it done. So close the deal. And this is the bit that lots of people don't do so well, because it's a bit like, oh, what if they say no? You know, what if I've done all this work and then they turn away? I think don't underestimate the importance of the main course in overcoming what could be any potential objections to the product that you're trying to sell or the service that you're trying to sell.
And that's really interesting how you put it in that starter, main course and dessert, because like as a marketeer, what I'm hearing is the AIDA model: awareness, interest, desire, action. And when you're talking about just get it done, just get the sale done, that's the action at the bottom of the funnel.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating how you've put it in that different way.
And I mean, we won't go into it in this episode, or indeed probably in this series, but I come from, you know, I've got a corporate background, and we had a huge amount of sales training. And this last part, you know, there's lots and lots of different variations on a close. So there's, you know, such a thing as a scare close, where you say, oh, that's such a shame because Joe Blogs down the road, he's going to take it. And then there's a scarcity close around, oh, well, you need to buy it now because, you know, we've only got 5 available. So fearing them into, you know, saying yes. And that's probably why so many salespeople have got such a bad reputation, because they use tactics like that to secure the deal. When actually, for me, if you've enjoyed your starter, i.e. you've paved the way, you've really delivered on your main course in answering any questions, overcoming objections. The dessert is really the icing on the cake. Yeah. And when you get to that point, you just need to ask. Don't be afraid to ask, are we good to go? Can I, you know, is it a yes? Is it a yes from me, sort of thing? But you just need to know, don't you? And it's important as well to say, if it's not a yes and it's a no, that's okay. A no often turns into a yes later down the line. Yes, it's disappointing. Yes, you'll feel a little bit like, oh, I've spent all that time and they've said no. But see it as an opportunity to convert later down the line. So we've talked a bit about the process. So this is the process as defined, the sales process as defined by Find Me the Leads. We have people, customers right at the heart and centre of our process. But I just want to touch briefly on salespeople. And to me, there are 2 types. There are the hunters and there are the farmers. Now, hunters, oh my gosh, that sounds like such an aggressive word, doesn't it? Like, I'm going to hunt you down. It's not. This is what I am. So I am a hunter. I like finding the right people, the right businesses, the right outlets for my clients. You know, I love that part of it. You know, call it pioneering,
collaborating
prospecting
as well. You're connecting people all the time.
Absolutely. So I love that part of the process. I really thrive on that. So this is about opening doors. You know, this is about knocking on doors and allowing them to open so that you or your clients can walk straight through. So this is the hunter part of the process, which aligns itself best to people, so salespeople that define themselves as hunters. So I'm definitely one of those. The farmers are the ones that like to nurture the relationships, cultivate the relationships, build relationships. They are what you would call in the traditional sense, the account managers. So they take a new or an established relationship and they manage it on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-by-month basis. So they are the ones that get into the process of negotiating that we touched on briefly at the start. They're the ones that look after, for want of a better phrase, customers to ensure that their needs are met, they remain happy, they continue to be customers, so they come back and buy more, or they're retained as customers within the business. So they are the farmers. So it is important to identify if you are one of those people, or indeed if you have a team, who within your team possesses the characteristics of a hunter versus a farmer. And I think it's really important to play to those strengths. So put the right people in the right roles that are going to allow them to succeed and to thrive and to bring in sales into your business and retain happy customers within your business.
And if somebody's a solopreneur, then this is something that can also be outsourced, right? So if they know that they are a hunter or a farmer, then they think that actually I need to employ somebody or I need to outsource to somebody that is the opposite to me in order to help the sales process. That's something that can be done quite easily, right?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. So, we hunt on behalf of our clients. And we like that because actually when you work as a solopreneur with a lot of clients, which we hope that you do, it's not right to become an expert in every single product or every single service offered by each of your clients, because actually you'd be doing them a disservice. You cannot take on that level of deep knowledge and understanding that is the same as the client. So actually, I think it's really okay to warm up the conversation, and then at the point when it becomes hinged on detail, so I need to know the dimensions, the price, how long it lasts, what the payment terms are, etc., 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 it's okay then to pass it on. So potentially back to your question around, can I outsource that part or a part of the sales process? Absolutely. Outsource the bit that scares you the most.
Yeah, and I think sales can be pretty scary. And something that you said earlier on kind of really resonated with me, where you said, actually, you can be saying like, is it a yes then? Are we good to go? And actually by taking the weight out of it and by actually just it is a person-to-person decision-making process, isn't it? And to be able to make it more fun, it's like it makes it more fun for them to go along. If you're buying a new sofa and they're like, yeah, do you want to sign the paperwork? Or if they're like, hey, are we going to get this in your lounge before Christmas, with a big smile on the face, then, it makes it it's part of that process, isn't it? And I think as business owners, we can get too caught up in like the transactional nature of sales and that it should be scary and that it should be difficult. And actually what you're saying is, actually, you can, if you bring your personality to it as well, you can have a bit of fun with it. And obviously there's a serious nature to sales, but it depends, like you can bring your personality and make it a little bit different.
Absolutely. And I think, that's what we as small business owners can do 100%.
Yeah.
Nobody else is like us. We might be selling the same product or service, but we'll be selling it differently because we're all different and unique as individuals. Yeah. And I think we'll talk about this later on in the series, but I think back to your point around sort of process and, feeling confident, it's important to know what you're selling before you embark on the process of selling it, because actually it is important to distinguish the product from the person, because that will help you process the no's better, because you'll see it as they've said no to the service or the product that I'm selling, not no to me as the person selling it. So we'll go on to that later on in the series. But I think for the purpose of this episode, I really wanted to just establish us as a business, so as Find Me the Leads, how we define the sales process is very much around the 3 courses that I talked about. So starter, whet the appetite, main course, give them the details, and dessert, seal the deal. And then in terms of the people that actually activate that process, are they hunters or are they farmers? And I would encourage you as listeners to just think about that in terms of who you think you are and how what you do can play to your strengths in terms of generating sales for your business.
So I've got a question for you. Can you remember the first sale that you made in your business? Or can you remember one that like really fills you with joy?
I think I'm quite cheesy, actually, and I have had lots of punching the air moments in my conservatory. Like I do the happy dance. I do. I can't help it.
I can just imagine you, actually.
And for anyone who has the best emails are the ones that come from Stripe.
Yeah.
Which tell you that you've had a payment. That really gets me excited. So in a way, I suppose I am quite transactional. Like when the cash lands, I'm like, yes. I think, yes, I can remember the first sale, but it was actually quite a boring one. But actually, I'd like to just touch on the most significant one, actually. And this was coming out of lockdown. So it hadn't been a great time for a lot of small business owners. I myself was one of them. And I remember the first invoice that I got paid after COVID restrictions started to be lifted. And I did a really stupid little happy dance and did a scary, like, I'm back type of shout out across my social media. Because honestly, it didn't matter how much that invoice was for. It was just a sign that things were back. I'm back as a small business. I'm back as a small business owner. It's going to be okay. So actually, that is the most memorable and the most significant of all the sales transactions that I've had in my business because of what it symbolised.
Yeah. It's like those first shoots of spring after a really tough winter.
Definitely. And and so I do the happy dance. I do punch the air, because I think we need to celebrate. That's a transaction or a sale that I made for my business, and that's to be applauded, isn't it? Really,
absolutely. There's ways that I do it actually. Having things like just Trello board or popcorn or whatever it is that you use where you're moving people along that process. But there was a time when, I think it was just before COVID, when I actually thought, do you know what we should do is each customer have their name in a post-it note on a bottle of champagne and have them on a shelf, and so that you move them along closer to, and then when they get to like yes, then you
pop the cork.
I think we need to start implementing this.
Oh, I love that. I really do. And it's funny, like when you say things like that out loud, you think, I hope people don't think that I perceive my customers as bottles of champagne. And it's absolutely not that. This is what I mean about the trying to sort of use the word transaction loosely, but it is about moving people, customers, prospects closer to the sale, which is the actual, they become a client. And actually, as small business owners, we want to work with nice people. Absolutely, so when a prospect becomes a customer, it's a real win, because it's like, yes, they're my ideal client or customer. They're in my business. I'm going to deliver them an exceptional service. So, I think it's all good. Don't be afraid to ask. And, if you need to punch the air and do the happy dance, do it.
So I was going to ask you a question about the difference between push and pull sales and interrupting people's day with phone calls and things like this. Like, how do you know when it's the right time to push somebody a little bit further and to kind of keep asking, or when do you interrupt them and when do you not, like that kind of process? Because I think that can be for business owners, it can be a bit, I just won't bother. I won't bother asking because I don't want to interrupt the day.
I think I shared with you recently a quote from somebody that I'd had a discovery call with that said, oh, I don't want to be too pushy, you know, when we were talking about doing the follow-up. And I think it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So you can be tenacious, you can be pushy, if that's such a thing, but it's the way you go about it. And do you know, the way that I view it is each interaction I make, obviously I want it to be a positive one, but that's one potentially, and this is me, ever the optimist, I'm thinking, the person is thinking, oh, thank goodness, that's something I can cross off my to-do list, because actually that's one less call I have to make today, or one less email I need to send, because that person has taken the responsibility away from me and done it themselves. And I think this is back to the process that obviously we spoke about, that it is your responsibility. If you want that sale, you need to be the one managing the process. And in terms of best time to call, that type of thing, I think there are some definite yeses and some definite nos. So it depends if you're contacting. So for us, we contact quite a lot of retailers, and a lot of retailers that have hospitality facilities within their premises. So for us, we have this sort of no-go area between like 11:30 and 2 o'clock, where we just respect that they have got, you know, other things to do. So they are serving customers, you know, making sandwiches, whatever that looks like. So we avoid that at all costs. Most of the places that we contact are closed on Mondays, so that rules that out straight away. If you're contacting a business, I would suggest that it's probably not a good idea to call them first thing on a Monday morning. They're not going to thank you for that. And there is no sort of science behind it. However, you could say that as we get closer to the weekend, people are probably in a bit better mood. They're probably more likely to chat. So maybe you need to focus your attention on calling them in the latter part of the week. But don't make that 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, because they're clearly already in the pub by that point. So I think it depends on who you're contacting. And I think this is the crucial point. You need to think about when is the right time for them, not when is the right time for you. So if you've got a window of opportunity between 9 and 10 on a Monday, that is not the right time to be calling. So you need to think about, I want to set myself up for success, which means when I call, they answer the phone. And when they answer the phone, they're prepared to engage in a conversation. So set yourself up for success, because that will enable you to make more and have more conversations.
What tips do you have, Leisa? As a final thing, what tips do you have for those sales calls where people are thinking, I need to pick up the phone and I need to ring these 5 different prospects. I've not spoken to them before. These are cold leads. I know that my products or my services would be great for their business, but I don't know what to say when I pick the phone up. Like, what advice have you got for that?
Well, I think you need to have, so I don't want to say script, because I know that lots of businesses market themselves on being script free. So I prefer to call it a crib sheet, and you need to have one. I mean, I have one now, and I've been doing this for a long time, and it's not a script. It's literally 3 bullet points or 5 bullet points. These are the key messages that I want to land. So I put a post out recently on my LinkedIn about, you know, cold calling. By the way, we do it, but we do it in a warm way. Just wanted to get that out there, because again, cold calling sounds so awful. I put a post out about the process that we go through of cold calling, and somebody said, like, you know, made a comment, oh, it'd be interesting to know, you know, what you said or how many words. So I timed myself, and I delivered my key call, my main call to action, which was, who do I need to contact? What's their email address? Because it's really important to have the name of a decision maker. And I delivered that message in 20 seconds, in 24 words.
Amazing.
And I think you need to remember that the first call is not a sales call. It's an inquiry call.
Yeah.
It is a, hi, this is who I am. This is what I do. this is what I want from you sort of thing. So this is the call to action. So my recommendation and advice would be always have a crib sheet and have a clear call to action. So what do you want to get out of that call?
Yeah.
And I know that we're going to cover this in another episode. Like, I'll give you some really clear pointers in terms of how to make those telephone conversations as effective and efficient as possible. But what I would say to you, and I think we'll probably, wrap it up on this point, is the first call is the hardest. Do you know, once you've made that call and you've said what you're going to say, if you're sitting in a room on your own, which, let's face it, most people will be, it doesn't really matter, does it? Nobody's listening. Have your crib sheet, say it. And once you get a good response, it will just empower you to keep going.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. We're all just testing and learning, aren't we? It's not the end of the world. If you fluff it up and they say no, just move on.
Thanks so much for that, Leisa. It was really inspiring, actually. I felt like I really took some nuggets from that. So thanks so much.
You're very welcome. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about marketing on our next episode. What is it and how powerful can it be? I really can't wait for that one.
Oh, fab. Can't wait either. One last thing to let you know before we go. You can follow us on Instagram to see behind the scenes stuff, like Leisa being funny. Just look for Scale Up Podcast or one word.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.